Hello students, welcome to online lecture series of human computer interaction. Now today we start with our fifth unit, that's it, HCI guidelines and evaluation techniques. So today we will cover the two topics, that is using toolkit, and second is user interface management system, that is UIMS. So using toolkit. A toolkit offers a programmer with a set of interaction object, or you can say a set of ready-made interaction object, alternatively called interaction techniques, gadgets, right, which they can use to create their application programs. The interaction objects have a predefined behavior that comes for free without any additional effort. Toolkit exists for all windowing environments. To provide flexibility, the interaction object can be tailored to the specific situation in which they are involved by the programmer. For example, the label on the button could be a parameter which the programmer can set when a particular button is created. The entire applications can be viewed as a collection of interaction objects whose combined behavior describes the semantics of the whole applications. One of the advantages of programming with toolkit is that they can impose the consistency in both input form and output form by providing an analogous behavior by collection of the widgets. For example, every button interaction object within a same application program or between a different ones by default could have a behavior. All the you can say all that required is that the developers for the different application use the same toolkit. This consistency of behavior for interaction object is referred to as the look and feel of the toolkit. So this interaction object, right? The two characteristics of the interaction object and toolkit make them agreeable to an object-oriented approach to programming. First, they rely on being able to define a class of interaction objects, which can then be invoked many times within one application with only slight modification to each instance. Secondly, building compound interaction objects is made easier by building up their definition based on the existing simpler interaction object. The classes are defined as the template for interaction object. When an interaction object is created, it is declared as an instance of some predefined class. In defining of the classes, interaction object themselves, new classes can be built, which inherit the features of one or more classes. In the simplest case, there is a strict class hierarchy in which each class inherits the features of only one other class, its parent class. A more complicated class hierarchy would be permitted, defining the new classes which inherit from one, we can say which inherit from more than one parent class, called a multiple inheritance. The Java toolkit for developing a windowing applications is called, you can say, abstract windowing toolkit, that is AWT. It maps the interface object such as button, menus, and we can say dialog boxes onto corresponding Java classes. The programmer build an interface either by using these classes directly or by subclassing them, that is specializing the either by using, we can say, specializing the behavior of the object in some way. This subclassing means the new interaction gadgets can be easily added. The programmer can tailor the behavior and appearance of the interaction object by setting the values of various instance attributes. This tailorability is achieved through the resources which can be accessed by the application program and change the compiled value of some attributes. For efficiency reasons, this reliability is often limited to small set of attributes for any given class. The next, using interface management system, that is UIMS. So this toolkit are costly to create and are still very difficult to use by the non-programmers. Even experienced programmers will have trouble using them to produce an interface that is predictably usable. There is need for added support for the programmers in design and use of toolkit to overcome their deficiency. So the set of programming and design methods which are supposed to add another level of services for interactive service systems design beyond the toolkit level are user interface systems, that is UIMS. The term UIMS is used quite widely in both industrial and academic circles and has can say come to represent the variety of topics. There are some main concerns for this UIMS. These main concerns of UIMS are that is the first one you can say the conceptual architecture for the structure of interactive systems, which concentrate on the separation between the application, semantics, and presentation. Second, the techniques for implementing the separate applications and presentation at the same time as preserving for managing the implementation and evaluating the runtime interactive environment. The major issues in the field of research is one of the separation between the semantics of applications and interface provided by the user to use of that semantics. So there are good arguments to support these separations. So there are many good arguments to support these separations, the separation of concerns. So first is a portability. So to allow the same application to be used on the different system, it is a best consider its development separate from its device dependent interface. Second one, a reusability. The separation increase the likelihood that components can be reused in order to cut the development cost. Third one, that is a multiple interface. So in multiple interface, to improve the interactive flexibility of an application, several different interfaces can be developed to access the same functionality. Then customization. The user interface can be customized by both designer and the user to increase the effectiveness without having to alter the underlying applications. Once the separation between application and presentation is allowed, it must consider how those two partners communicate. This role of communication is referred to as a dialogue control. Conceptually, this provides us with the three major components of the interactive system: the application, the presentation, and the dialogue control. In the atoms of actual implementation, this separation may not be so clear. The next, that is a presentation. So the component responsible for appearance of the interface, including that what output and input is available to the user. Then dialogue control. The components which regulates the communication between the presentation and the applications. Next, this last one is application interface. So this the view of application interface semantics that is provided as the graphical interpretation of the model, both application and user, to make this user interface management system, that is UIMS model, more in context of the interactive system. So from programmer's perspective, this model fits in nicely with the distinction between classical lexical, syntactic, and semantic layers of the computer, that is computer system, and familiar from the compiler design. So these are the different good arguments to support this separation of concern. So next, there is UIMS implementation consideration. So this UIMS implementation consideration, so there's has summarized various implementation methods used to specify the dialog controller separately. There are some methods that have been used in dialog modeling in UIMS. So first is menu networks. So this menu networks, that is communication between application and presentation, is modeled as a network of menus and submenus. Second, there is a grammar notation. So what is this grammar notation? So this grammar notation, there is dialogue between application and presentation, can be treated as a grammar of the actions and response, and therefore you can say described by means of a formal context-free grammar notation, such as BNF, that is Backus-Naur form. Then in state transition diagram. So in a state transition diagram can be used as a graphical means of expressing dialogue. Event language. So this event language are similar to the grammar notations, except that they can be modified to express directionally and support some specific feedback. Declarative language. So this declarative language is a declarative approach, concentrate more on describing how presentation and applications are related. This relationship can be modeled as a shared database of values that both presentation you can say and applications can access. Then constraints. The constraints systems are special subset of a declarative language. Constraints can be used to make explicit the connection between independent information of presentation and the applications. And the last, the method, that is a graphical specification. So these techniques allow the dialog specification to be programmed graphically in terms of presentation language itself. These techniques can be referred to as a programming by the demonstration. The components of this UIMS, which allow the description of the application separate from the presentation, are advantageous from software engineering perspective. But there has not been conclusive proof that they are desirable in designing for a usability. So these are the different methods that will be used in dialogue modeling in UIMS. So next topic we will see next lecture.